good day, and welcome to another topic in the subject system administration and maintenance. So, in order for a Linux client or a server to be connected to a network, it needs an IP address. So, all devices that needs to be connected to a network needs this IP address so that it can share the network. It can access the resources of the network. So our topic for today is how to configure the network in a Linux system. In the VirtualBox settings, in network settings specifically, there are four types of settings that VirtualBox offers. This is NAT, bridge adapter, internal network, and host adapter. In NAT, the device, the guest virtual machine, will get the IP address, or I mean, share the same IP address of the host computer. If, for example, the guest machine will try to access the internet, the gateway will detect it as the same IP address of the host machine. If you remembered from our um, network to subject, this is how NAT works, network address translation. So this part here, the NAT device, could be the host machine in VirtualBox, and this is your guest virtual machine. So anytime this guest virtual machine will try to access the internet, it will have the same IP address, which is this one. But locally, this guest machine will have a virtual IP address just like as this one. But when it goes out to the internet, it will have the same IP as the host machine. In the bridge adapter, the guest virtual machine will have its own IP address. It's basically cloning, it's basically imitating the settings of the host machine. Let's say, for example, in my account or in this computer, the host machine is connected to a Wi-Fi signal called DCTech Fiber 3, and it has the host machine has an individual unique IP address. If a guest virtual machine will connect to the same signal DCTech Fiber 3, it will have its own IP address also. Okay. So guest machine will have a unique IP address, while the host machine will get a unique IP address also. If the guest machine will try to access the internet, it will have its own IP address. If the host machine will access the internet, it will have its own IP address. All IP addresses in NAT and bridge adapter will be provided by the routers you are connected to. In the internal network, this will be the network between virtual machines or guest virtual machines. There's a possibility that they cannot access the internet from here. They will be connected to each virtual machines only. There's also a possibility that they cannot access the network resources of the host machine. And the last is the host adapter. This is the network setting of VirtualBox, wherein it provides a DHCP server, and it will give out IP addresses to the guest virtual machines. If we set this in our VirtualBox settings as host only adapter, you will be given specific IP addresses from the VirtualBox. So there are two ways to set IP addresses in any given network device. You can set a static IP. These are manually set. This can be temporary or permanent. Okay, you could get the same IP addresses every time you access to the network, or you could get a temporary IP address from the DHCP server once you log into the network. You could also have a dynamic IP. This is also from the DHCP server. Every time you log in to the network, you will be given a temporary IP address. Let's say on the next day you log into the same network, you'll still be given, there will be a possibility that you will be given the same IP address. There's also a possibility that you will not be given the same IP address, but you'll still log into the network. In Linux, there are naming conventions, names of the network adapters that you can determine, that you can configure, and these are examples of them: ENP0S3, ENP0S8, ENS1, ENS2, so on and so forth. And this is usually predetermined by the Unix system. You can determine the logical name of your network adapter if you type this command: sudo lshw -c space network. You will then see the logical name of your network device. For this example, it is ENS2. So how to set up an IP address? Let's say you have a router in your network, and then this router gives out temporary IP addresses using DHCP. So how to edit is you just go to this folder or directory, or you could edit this particular file. Sudo space pico space /etc/netplan /00 installer -config.yaml. Some Ubuntu server devices might have different YAML configurations, different file names, but you can still use this particular file name. The content of that file name, if you will be using temporary IP addressing, will be this one. Okay, so notice the indentions between the settings. Let's say the first line, network version is 2, render network D, Ethernets. This will be the configuration of the network adapter. So let's say the logical name of the network adapter is ENP0S3. Notice the indentation, and we will be using the DHCP DHCP setting. Okay, we will set it to true. So every time this network device will connect to a network, it will try to look for a DHCP server. It will then get an IP address from that DHCP server. If a DHCP server is not found in the network, it will not get an IP address. So after you edit the settings, you restart the network settings of the Ubuntu by issuing this command sudo space netplan apply. After you do this, verify if the changes has been implemented with this command IP/A, and then you can check if the IP address has really changed. So if we will just maximize this, the IP address of this device is now 192.168.1.247, which is in the ENP0S3 adapter, in which we have configured from this configuration. If you also want to set an IP address which is a permanent, a static IP address, you can edit the same file in this directory /etc/netplan, and this will be the content. Okay. So notice the indentations between the settings, and make sure that these indentations are properly placed so that no errors will occur when you restart the network or when you enable the network. So the logical name of this particular network adapter that this device is using is ENP0S3. You will have the same IP address, let's say 1.247/24, and then the name servers or the DNS, you can set it to the DNS of the network. Let's say example 4.222 or 8888, and then the routes are the default gateway, which is set to 192.168.1.1. After changes has been implemented, restart the network using this command and verify if the IP address has changed. So when you test connectivity between devices, you can use the ping command to check if a device is present on the network, if the device is connected to the network. And this is usually the order of testing. You ping first the local host, which has an IP address of 127.0.0.1. That means that your network adapter, which is ENP0S3, is working properly. The next phase is you ping another computer in your network. So I am pinging now the IP address of the guest VM on the left side, which is 192.168.147. The IP address of the virtual machine on the right side is 192.168.1.246. So I'm going to ping the virtual machine on the left side, and it has replies. Okay, so basically these two virtual machines are connected to their own network, which I am using. The VirtualBox setting that I am using is internal network on both devices. Okay, internal network on both devices, so they are connected. The third and the fourth steps, you can do this if your virtual machines, if your devices are connected to the internet. But for now, these virtual machines, guest virtual machines, are not connected to the internet. So once again, if you want to edit the network settings of an Ubuntu device, you could go to this configuration file. You can set this, oops, you can set the IP address, you can set the DNS settings, you can set the router settings, you can set the versions and the network adapters. So let's say I'm going to change the IP address of the left VM to 240. Okay. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to enable or implement the changes by doing the command sudo netplan apply, and then I'm going to verify if it's working properly. So I have a new IP address 192.168.1.240. I'm going to check if the left virtual machine is connected to the right virtual machine. So what I will do is I will ping 192.168.1.247, I mean 246, and it's connected already. If you want to use NAT, the other settings in VirtualBox, let's say for example NAT, click on OK, and then we will implement the original, for a while I'll just copy these settings to another file. That's this static. Okay, and then sudo pico DHCP4 true, and then let me verify if I have the correct settings. enp0s3 DHCP4 equals true. Sudo netplan apply. So let me check if I have a different IP address now, because I am using the NAT of the virtual box settings. My IP address now is 10.0.2.15. If I will ping again the network, the IP address of the right virtual machine, which is 2.246, I cannot ping it anymore because I'm not part of the internal network of the right virtual machine. What I have right now is I am already connected to the NAT network of VirtualBox, and I think I am connected to the internet already. Okay, so those are pings, successful pings to google.com. So let's say we will go back sudo rm0 sudo mv 0 dot static to 0. So I will now use the static IP address setting. Let me just go back to the internal network setting of virtual machine, change this to internal, and then do sudo netplan apply. If I will do IPA, let's say I will set it to the ENP0S3. So I have an IP address 192.168.1.240. Now going to ping the IP address on the right VM 246. I'm now connected to the right VM. Okay, so that's all for this topic, which is configuring the network of an Ubuntu or Linux device. If you have questions, feel free to message me or approach me during the lecture hours. Thank you and have a nice day. Goodbye.